Hey, so I know I promised a video on Dark Souls 2, but I just completed and platinumed Bloodborne, pretty much the game of all time. And although I've talked about it recently, I haven't really gone in depth and talked about why it's one of my favorite gaming experiences in recent years. So hi everyone, welcome to my tribute to Bloodborne. We're going to talk about some of my favorite aspects of the game mixed with memories from my first playthrough, and now with my mega brain of hindsight we can go back and sort of analyze these first experiences in a better light. So let's stop wasting time and talk about Bloodborne's beginning is obviously so striking and leaves a mark on anyone who witnesses it, but I want to talk about my experience with this guy. He's one of the first bosses you'll fight in the game, and for new players like myself at the time, he is very difficult. I thought I'd mastered Dark Souls 1 combat, and then I came into Bloodborne, which is just a completely different league of combat. I got cooked up by Father Gascoigne at least a dozen times. It didn't help that the parrying system that is in Bloodborne wasn't taught to me from the start, so I was fighting it more like a brawl instead of a well choreographed dance, shall we say. Eventually I backtracked because I decided I couldn't beat this guy without more levels, and I ran into this little girl at the top of a ladder who handed me a music box. As I received the item and read its description, it was obvious that she was related to Father Gascoigne, so I strutted back into the boss fight and killed him regularly. Yeah, I didn't need no music box. Truth is, I kind of thought it would like activate from my inventory or something like that, but anyway, we're balling, I killed him. My next core memory with Bloodborne was the dreaded fight with the shadows of Yharnam. I knew these guys would come up eventually, as I'd heard of the horrors of a 3v1 boss fight, not to mention they were in the Forbidden Woods, basically this huge, sprawling area which shows off another of Bloodborne's amazing strengths, its art direction. Within these woods, Bloodborne managed to capture an aesthetic of a labyrinth of trees, deadly enemies circling around a campfire, an abandoned town overrun with traps and monsters, a poisonous bog, and that's just the first half, because then we go into this like snake people section, which is just off the walls crazy. It's really cool how in the actual Shadows of Yharnam boss fight, the snakes come up again, right? When you take a full health bar down from any of the Shadows of Yharnam, they like transform into these snake half-human, half-boss creatures, and their weapons become sort of trick weapons. They get these snake additions to them, which let them like shoot out and just like hit you from really far away. The run back for this fight is very long, but thankfully I loved the actual fight. I thought a 3v1 would be unfair, like a certain Ruined Sentinels fight in a different Dark Souls game, but this actually felt very doable and manageable because each of the three bosses had a different stage of attack. You've got this ranged guy, this sort of mid-range guy, and a really close combat fighter. I don't remember how many tries exactly it took me to beat them, but I know it was a fair few, but thankfully I enjoyed the fight. Weaving around the stones and rocks to like barely avoid these guys' attacks, only to jump out and do a hit and run attack, felt strategic but also dangerous, which is a good combination. After I beat them, we were no longer in the early game, no. We are now moving into... I classify this area as everything all the way up to Murgo's Wet Nurse, which although it's technically one of the final bosses in the game, there's so much that I did like after that area that I'm calling that the end game. My first highlight, if you can call it that, was exploring the nightmares in this game. The first one with the amygdala, whatever it is, it was trash, it was awful. Not only is this area full of clay lump Play-Doh men who chuck rocks at you and just one-shot you, but it also has this enemy, this one, like literally the worst enemy in all of Bloodborne, no contest. Whoever designed the frenzy mechanic can go like survive 70 hours underground like Mr. Beast style or whatever, because it sucks, it's an awful mechanic. It still seems to activate like even after you kill the enemy or run away from whatever's causing the frenzy, which is really stupid. Yeah, anyway, I'm digressing. Let's talk about the boss. I think this was just a case of me being bad, because I just couldn't understand this guy's timing in the slightest. One minute I was dominating with the Ludwig's Holy Blade, and then suddenly I was getting slapped about by this guy's insanely long arm reach. I'll admit it was really cool to fight something that was like there the whole time, you know, with the insight mechanic, you can see these guys only once you get a certain amount, so it was cool to finally be able to fight one of them. So aesthetic of this area, 10 out of 10, really cool, great to fight a boss of this variety, but enemy placement and choice can like go poo, like it sucks, it's awful. The second nightmare we're going to talk about is Mikolash. Yeah, this goober. They absolutely hit the nail on the head by calling it a nightmare. Good one. This boss is just annoying, it's not even hard, but I have a very specific reference for you guys, which none of you will understand, but back when I played Pokemon Y, like when I was 7 years old, I could never get this Furfrou in this section, I could never get it like into the box where I needed to trap it, right? And it's the exact same thing with Mikolash. I couldn't get this guy to run into the room I needed him to so I could actually start the whooping. Like, he was unwhoopable. And after I beat him up the first time, he like teleports away and I have to do it again, except he gets like super powerful magic attacks now. I died a few more times than I'm comfortable saying, but at least when I did finally take him out, it was a huge W. Okay, that's enough celebrating our W, because we just entered. Amygdala was infuriating, Mikolash was annoying, but Murgo's wet nurse, more like Murgo's dead nurse, because it was an easy fight. Like, it was kind of just, and a bit underwhelming for what could have been the final boss of somebody's playthrough technically. But luckily, I'm not somebody, I'm a gamer. It's so cringe, man. Because I'll admit, I looked up the endings of the game, I knew there were multiple endings, so I decided to go for like the true ending, where you fought the most bosses. That is cool, right? It's cool. Before I fought Gehrman, I had some unfinished business. The DLC. Wait, why did it not? Guys, I have a confession to make. Truth is, 7 months ago when I made that Dark Souls video, you know, remember that Dark Souls video? I'd basically finished Bloodborne at that point, except for this one bit, which I just couldn't do. And I could make this video like 30 minutes long by talking about my immense trials with Ludwig, the disappointments, I forget their name, they suck, and Lady Maria, who's an insanely cool boss. Like, really cool to fight, challenging, and just a very fun boss overall. But there was one more absolutely gigantic wall staring in my way. The Orphan, of course. Must have given this guy like 40 or 50 tries originally, changing weapons, changing armor. I tried to learn his timing and even spent time learning the parrying system, which I haven't done properly up until that point. I tried to do that to catch him lacking and get some wins in that way, but even after all those tries, I only got to the second phase a handful of times, and then I would just get obliterated. So I gave up. No more Bloodborne for me. See you guys. I moved on to bigger and not necessarily better things with Dark Souls 2, but still. 6 months later, I finally got up the courage to try this boss again. And when I picked up that PS4 controller again, I got really worried. My first few attempts back at the Orphan were slow and sluggish and just kind of embarrassing to watch. Any previous skill I'd accumulated in Bloodborne was gone, and it just felt like I was just not progressing. Part of me wanted to fully replay Bloodborne up to that point to like regenerate some of my skills, but I did not. I persevered. And after about 6 hours of straight fighting this guy, over a couple of days, I finally got the timing. I learned his attacks, found this small window where he jumps over you, where you can backstab him for a visceral, which is really cool, and came in clutch and just tearing down his health bar. And then the almighty second phase comes in, well, I just have to dance around it and hope I don't get one shot. So in the end, I got the clutch win. Now, could I repeat this clutch win? There's no chance you'll catch me attempting it, but let's just say I could, alright? Whatever the case, when I finally beat that guy, the feeling was cathartic. I went for my victory lap around Bloodborne's endgame, took on Gehrman, who I beat like second try in a really cool and an atmospheric fight. He just didn't seem to have much health, so I was able to take care of him pretty easily. And then the moon presence came down, like that's just such a vibe of a fight. It's so cool, right? And yeah, I took him on. I won. I'm the Bloodborne. And that was my first experience with Bloodborne. And no, I wasn't kidding about the platinum. I went through the game a second time for some trophy cleanup, and then a third time because I'd missed some things, and it definitely took a toll on me playing Bloodborne 3 times back to back, trying to get this really one specific hunter weapon, but whatever. I did it. The 100% looks clean, and I am the Bloodborne master. Ah, who am I kidding? I still suck at Bloodborne.